Welcome to Transit. I'm Jacqueline Shields. Now, when you think of ferries, what immediately springs to mind?
Sydney. Sydney Harbour.
Sydney Harbour.
Sydney Harbour.
Yeah.
Sydney Harbour.
And they certainly aren't the only ones. It came as nothing but a surprise to me to discover that right here in glorious Melbourne, we've got two fabulous ferries of our very own. And I'm joined this afternoon by Mark Davy, who is the owner of the Williamstown Ferry. And we're down here at South Bank, South Wharf, and we're sitting on the Batman, which is actually one of the largest of the ferries that are actually running to Williamstown and also across the bay from St.Kilda. And Mark, what's your association, apart from being owner of course, but involvement through the years with this organisation?
Okay, well I was fortunate enough to be able to pioneer this ferry business. I had a background in boating on the bay, and I also worked for the ports and harbours, and so it was an opportunity to combine my love of boats and my knowledge of the port and shipping and be able to start something at a time when it was just starting to show signs of us having a waterway and people beginning to show interest in it.
That's a very good point, Mark, because I think until recently the Yarra has been much maligned piece of waterway in Melbourne. I think we've also maybe been a little bit envious of what Sydney Harbour's had to offer.
That's true. Yes, of course, Sydney Harbour is a unique city, and it's a beautiful harbour, and the city's all around the harbour itself, and it's a means of getting from A to B. And Melbourne geographically is somewhat different, but we do have a wonderful waterway running through the city. And now we're seeing buildings and places spring up along the banks, and we're utilising it more and more.
Maybe too, South Bank has brought a lot more people down to the river. There's a lot of water taxis, a lot of barbecue boats, and therefore also a lot of interest in actually being on the river and maybe heading out to Williamstown and taking a day trip out onto the bay, which is what you offer.
That's right. Yeah, Southgate was an overnight success, and it does indicate that the Docklands will be a huge success because of the vastness of it. But yeah, Southgate was a wonderful success, and it has introduced water taxis, and now we're seeing that instead of having to promote ourselves and the destination, people are pretty much aware of what the ferries are doing and where they're going, so it makes our job a bit easier today.
So what can you offer people who are thinking of something to do on a Sunday or a Saturday, or do you offer a service during the week as well?
Yes, we do. The City to Williamstown Ferries running daily. Last year was the first year that we could run the full year, so we're pleased about that it survived through the winter, because we do get good weather in winter, and it's just that some people think it's seasonal, and we have to sort of live with that. But it is sheltered, and it is a good cruise, and it can run all year round.
Now, if you're on the boat and you're wondering a little bit about the choppiness of the seas, and maybe you get a bit queasy, is that a problem, do you find, or you don't really get those sort of conditions where you have to be a little bit concerned?
Well, not on the City to Williamstown, because we're in the river, and when you reach Hobson's Bay, it is sheltered by breakwater piers, so that is a guaranteed smooth cruise. However, the other ferry that we run from St Kilda can be quite lumpy, and that's where this big boat
comes. One that comes from South Bank to Williamstown?
That's right.
How long would that take?
That takes an hour. That's the Williamstown Seeker, and it stops off at Polly Woodside here, near us here from the city, and Science Works, and goes on to Williamstown.
So you can actually get off and go and have a look at the Polly Woodside, have a look at Science Works, and hop back on
That's
again
right.
and
Exactly.
continue? Oh, fantastic.
That's right.
All right, then have a coffee at the other end.
Yeah, Williamstown is a great destination. There's so much to see and do there.
So you could basically leave from South Bank and have a bit of a party across to Williamstown, then continue when you're there.
You could,
Yeah.
too right, yes, you could.
Okay. Well, we've been talking the talk, now we're going to walk the walk, and we're actually going to pop on a ferry.
It's just the two of us. Okay.
Ever fallen overboard?
No, I've had to go in to get some things off the prop, but it's always been intentional. Okay, folks, now just heading upstream. We're about to pass under some low city bridges. To us, that everyone just remain seated while we are passing under these bridges, just to guarantee your safety.
Well, we didn't lose any anybody under that bridge. However, I just about thought that kid was about to lose his head. We've got another two, you never know. If you're thinking that Melbourne's getting a bit ho-hum and life's getting a bit dull, then I suggest you hop on this riverboat cruise and have another look at your city and rediscover the beauties of Melbourne. We're about to approach South Bank and we'll be docking shortly, and I don't think we're going to be having anybody going overboard, unfortunately, which is always good for the camera. However, I think what we might do is head inside and savour the taste of some of Charmaine's ice cream maybe, and maybe a bit of a hot chocolate or two or three with a couple of marshmallows, or two or three.
Okay, thank you folks, just mind your step.
You're a natural.
You're going to say that again, don't you?
Well, what you experienced there was a little bit of what the ferry cruise around the South Bank Wharf area had to offer. What a glorious little excursion that was. And today we're at St Kilda Pier, a bit of a windy ferry experience no doubt. But this morning we're going to be joining the hordes of people behind me on the half-hour ferry trip across to Williamstown. We're going to have a lovely, lovely lunch no doubt. Well, I'm having a fantastic time and a bad hair day on the Williamstown Ferry. Jenny, you're not having a bad hair day because you've got your beanie on.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do when you get to Williamstown? You're going there for lunch?
Yeah, we're going to have fish and chips.
Fish and chips? Excellent. Whose idea was that?
Mum's.
How are you, Jared?
I'm fine. You?
Very well, thank you. Is this the first time you've been on the Williamstown Ferry?
It certainly is. It's my first time.
And how did you find out about it?
Actually, I was listening to Triple M the other day, and on the must-do things in Melbourne, this was one of the things on top of the list.
Right, was this like one of the top 10 things to do in Melbourne?
Yeah, apparently.
Well, we made it safely across, as choppy and as windy as it was. It was a very, very enjoyable trip. Took no time at all, met some lovely people, and now we're off to sate our hunger and have a bit of a bite to eat in Williamstown. at St Kilda Pier. I've just returned from the half-hour trip from Williamstown. I've eaten till I can eat no more, and I bought myself a gorgeous little trinket. I'm sure you'll agree. That was the first time I've been on the Williamstown Ferry, and I certainly won't be the last. Good night.